Everyone.
Can't see this.
What?
Hi guys. So. Yeah. Drink water. I think I'll drink water. Hi guys. So I have my husband here with me today, and we have a long story about Dubai. So grab your coffee, grab your drink, and have a seat. So I'll let him begin. It's a lot.
So the story goes, I'm gonna try to consolidate as much as possible. The story goes basically, we as a family was all traveling abroad. That's where it begins. Dallas and I plan to go to Dubai for my birthday. It's turning 30. They wanted something different. We're gonna take our kids with us. So what we're planning to do, we're to take our kids to Orlando, where my parents were, and we're gonna spend a day with them in Orlando at Disney, and then leave them with my parents in Orlando while we went to Dubai. That's the overarching theme and premise as to how this is supposed to work. Our flight to Dubai leaves Orlando on Friday night at 9 p.m. That's where this story. It just needs to remember those dates and those times because that's very important to the story. Friday at 9 p.m. is when our flight was supposed to leave Orlando to go to Dubai. Wednesday morning, our family of four, us two and our two girls, we showed to the airport to go to Orlando. We quickly realized that as we're checking in, we wouldn't be able to make it to Orlando because we didn't recognize that Mila's passport was expired.
This is where the fun begins.
This is where the absolute chaos commences. So quickly I say, how do we then get Mila a passport immediately? She only has a Canadian passport. And so we then say, okay, we need to go to the Canadian consulate here and see what we can do. So we left the airport and drove down to the Canadian consulate. They basically say that there's nothing that they can do here and that we'd have to wait for it. And I didn't think that would be an option. Because as far as I was concerned, no one was here to watch our kids because my parents was in Orlando, so we had to get the kids to Orlando. And so that wasn't an option for me, so I decided that I'm going to go to Toronto.
That same day.
The same day. To get my child's passport. So we get passport pictures taken and we go back home and grab all the documents that we need, birth certificate, etc.
Fill out the forms, everything.
And we drive back to the airport that same day, and I hop on the last flight from Nassau directly to Toronto that day. I land in Toronto about 4 o'clock that day, and I say, well, I am going to deal with this first thing in the morning. Dallas stayed at home with the girls, and I promised my child one day, I said, baby, I'm coming back with your passport. So,
I was trying to pretend like I was still on vacation. So I didn't tell no one. I was just there, just chilling.
Chilling?
Not chilling, like I was still, worried, but I was trying to pretend.
So, wake up on Thursday morning in Toronto, go to the passport office. Things are looking promising. It's like possible to get it together the same day. I had all the documents I needed. They said I didn't leave anything. I can pay the urgent rush fee. Things were looking good. Up until then, the second person told me that there's actually still no way that I can get the passport because they said Mila had to be in the same country as me because apparently it's legal, even if it's your child, to travel across country border without a passport. So, I then realized that there's no way we'd be able to get my child's passport. So I go back to the hotel and I say, well, this sucks. But I made that decision. I said, it don't make sense that we miss our Dubai trip and the kids don't go to Disney. So I said, we have to figure out a way for someone to watch the kids at home. And she said that come over with me to Orlando to get to Dubai. So I called my best friend I asked him would they happen to be able to watch our kids last minute, along with our 3 other kids,
3 kids.
for a week while we're gone. Explain the situation. God bless their hearts, they did.
We are so thankful for you guys for watching this.
Extraordinarily thankful to Chris and Ruth.
Very much.
So, this is now Thursday, and like I said, Friday is the flight. So then I say, okay, now I have to get a flight down to Orlando so that I can make my flight the next day. But then I realized something. I have Dallas's passport with me because I was trying to get Mila's
Just in
passport.
case, yeah.
I took her passport with me, which meant that there's no way that she'd be able to get to Orlando without a passport. So I say, okay, just try to drive another plan.
So this is Thursdays now.
Right.
And our flight from Orlando to Dubai leaves Friday.
Right. New plan. I must get to Miami tonight because I called my cousin who's a pilot and I said, hey, can I any way get this passport to you? They happen to have a flight coming into Fort Lauderdale, private charter, on Friday morning. Coming into Fort Lauderdale. So I found a flight that left Toronto that same day, a Thursday, like 6 p.m., landed into Miami at like 9. So I do that, I book that, I get on that flight, get down to Miami that night. I drove to Fort Lauderdale that same night, woke up Friday morning, met the pilot, gave him Dallas' passport. He took it back over the same day to Dallas. So Dallas got her passport Friday morning around 1 o'clock or so.
Yeah.
I am now in Fort Lauderdale, so I have to drive 3 hours to Orlando. So I begin my drive. While Nona, she's in the airport waiting for her flight to Orlando, which is supposed to leave at 4:20.
And I was checked in from like 1:30. I was making sure I was getting on this flight.
So I drive to Orlando, I make it there probably around 2 o'clock. I see my parents checking on her like around 4. I said, hey, you guys bored yet? She says no. Now bear in mind, it's now Friday, our flight is now 9 p.m. that night. I said, why you ain't bored? I said, okay. 5 o'clock comes, she said she's checking with them. They say, and they probably get bored soon, delayed, etc. I say, boy, we cutting it close, this flight leave at 9. So anyway, she finally tells me that
We
they
got
board
on
the plane.
5:30.
Right.
So I get in like 6:30. And that would be enough time to catch my flight for 9.
Right.
Now, we got on the flight. We were waiting for us to leave. And then all of a sudden, they announced that a tray table is broken, so they have to wait for someone to come and fix it before we take off. We waited 30 minutes for someone to come and fix it. So we didn't take off until 6 o'clock, which means I wouldn't get there to Orlando until 7, which was really pushing it now. And
Because the flight closes at 8, so she'd have to land,
Yeah.
she'd have to get off, she'd have to get her
my
bags, and
bags.
then get to the Emirates to get down there. So
I was stressing.
she was stressing, I was stressing, and so now I'm in the mall with my parents, and I say, hey, all right, adios, it's been fun, but I'm going to meet Dallas at the airport so that we can go. I get outside, and it's pouring rain. Pouring absolute cats and dogs. So then, I say, well, at least she already took off, which means she got to land. So I thought. So I said, I'm going to start my drive to the airport. Drive to the airport, I'm tracking her flight. I'm watching the little plane icon go across the Caribbean Sea. Hit Florida. And I say, okay, things seems to be on the right trajectory. Until I'm like 2 minutes from the airport, I refresh again, and I notice that her plane does a little U-turn. And I say, wow, they're not landing in Orlando because of weather. That's what's probably going to happen. So, guess where they land, guys? Fort Lauderdale. So I get to the airport, and I sit there in the Emirates counter line knowing full well I ain't going to be able to get on this flight. I could have, but I didn't want to travel without her, and she wouldn't want me to travel 14 hours without her.
Absolutely.
You know? So, I say to the lady when I finally get to the front, hey, this is what's happening. Luckily, there was a flight the next day, so we had to rebook for that. It cost more, change fees, money, and everything.
I was on that flight for 5 hours because once we landed in Fort Lauderdale, they wouldn't let us off because it was illegal for us to be there. We weren't cleared. And I was in the middle seat. That was crazy.
So, she messaged me and tells me what's happening. And she said she's in Florida. They can't come off the plane. They don't know what they're going to do. They may wait for the weather to stop in Atlanta and still fly there later. They may get off in Lauderdale. They don't know what they're going to do. So I just decided to wait in the airport and until I hear back from her. Eventually we do. They do fly to Orlando that night. We pick her up probably around midnight. And then we were able to catch our flight the next day to Dubai. But it was just the chaos that led up to that day.
It was crazy.
So everything looked great on social media, and it was a fun time.
It was
One
really
of the best
fun.
trips ever.
It was.
But the chaos led up to it was
Yeah.
absolutely ridiculous.
Dubai definitely made up for it. It was really nice.
For sure. Absolutely.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's our story. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like, comment, subscribe, all of the things, and I'll catch you guys next week. Bye.